I'm holding court, you standing trial. Why ain't I see you round back when I was down? I'm holding court, you standing trial. Why ain't I see you round back when I was down? They ain't believe in me in the beginning, but wanna hang around now they see me winning. I'm holding court, you standing trial. Why ain't I see you round back when I was down?
Yo, what's up, world? It's your boy, Big Court from the Holdin Court Podcast. And of course, today's episode is sponsored by Uncle P's Southern Style Fish Fry. Man, look, every time I go to New Orleans, that's what it's about. It's about culture, it's about spice, it's about having that authentic flavor. So, this really encompasses that New Orleans style fish fry and that culture down there. So it's available in all grocery stores. So you want to taste the New Orleans, you want to taste the grandma's home cooking? Yeah, Uncle P's Southern Style Fish.
What's good? Welcome to the Holdin Court Podcast. It's your boy Big Court and producer Ken. What's good with you, man?
Oh man, doing good. How you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm good, man. We back. We here in this fresh set. You know what I'm saying? Those that's paying attention, that watch us all the time, y'all see we got a cool little, we did a little overhauling. You know what I mean? A little remodeling.
Yeah, new set.
You know what I'm saying? We got the
we in the dungeon.
We in the dungeon, or the Holdin Court dungeon. You know what I'm saying? But today, man, we got a very special guest. You know what I mean? This brother has a hell of a testimony, hell of a story. We gonna dive into it. You know what I'm saying? He's my no limit brethren. I didn't get a chance to know him back in the day, in the heyday, but we here now. You know what I'm saying? The one and only Mac. You know what I'm saying? McKinley Phipps Jr. back, man. The camouflage assassin. What's good with you, brother?
I'm cooling, man. I'm cool. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. Who's that in the background, bro?
I gotta go. This is one of the black cats. I actually got two black cats. This one we named Big Frida.
Big Frida. Shout out to Big Frida.
That's Frida. And we got another one that we call Strange, because she's just strange. She's quiet. She don't socialize. She just hides.
What made you name that black cat Big Frida?
Well, actually, my wife and them named it that before I came home.
Yeah. They
said she got a big personality, so they call her Big Frida.
Okay.
And you see how she jumped? You see how she jumped up on the chair?
Now
just imagine this. I've been in the bathroom trying to take care of business, and she done jumped on my shoulders.
Damn. She want to get her camera time. She like, shit, I'm in this bitch. Well, man, welcome home, soldier, man. I want to start from the beginning of even before, the lyrical midget, you know what I'm saying? Mac, McKinley Phipps as junior, as a youngster, man. So you born and raised in New Orleans? Yeah.
I was pretty much born and raised uptown. We moved all over the city when I was a kid. So I got a chance to live in like a lot of different neighborhoods, but I always came back uptown. That was kind of where the center of operations for our family, where wherever we went, we always gravitated back uptown. So that's where I was born and raised.
Mm-hmm. You an only child?
No, I am actually the eldest of six. I'm the oldest child. And my parents been married now for 45 years.
Damn.
And I'm the oldest.
Oh, that's a blessing.
Yeah, that's why I'm junior. I'm my dad's son.
Yeah, that's a blessing. That's a blessing. Did you grow up in the church?
Well, kind of, sort of. Growing up, I think most black families in this country, we spent a lot of time in the church as kids. My mom used to take me to church on Sundays, and oddly enough, when I was a kid, I really didn't understand church too much. So it was a place that, as a kid, man, I was like, it's boring. I'm ready to go. I wanted to go outside and play. Yeah. So what my dad and mom kind of did was alternated taking us to church, and my dad would take me fishing like every other week. So we always had something going on.
So you grew up with the strong family unit?
Pretty much,
Okay.
We my parents, we didn't have a lot, but we had love. We had our parents were always there for us, and they always encouraged us in everything that we did. Me and my brothers and sisters. And, we was kind of, I don't like to loosely use the word poor, because I think a lot of people misuse that word. You know, they think that, you know, because we didn't have name brand shoes, we were poor. No, there's people in other places that don't have shoes, that don't have water.
Right,
so,
right.
you know, we were, I would say, less fortunate.
Yeah.
But we had love.
Yeah. Well, poor is a state of mind too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. You know, so that is kind of a difference. So what I'm curious, what did Mac want to be as a kid? You know what I'm saying? Like, what were your dreams when you were youngin'?
I think the first thing I said I wanted to be, I remember my teachers asking me when I was, one of my earliest memories, I think I was either in kindergarten or first grade, when the teacher said, "What did you want to be when you grow up?" And I said I wanted to be like Mr. Ricks at the time, which was our principal.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to be I guess that was just my way of, as a kid, acknowledging I wanted to be the person in charge. Because over the school, it was Mr. Ricks. So I think around 7 years old is when I decided I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a musician, like 7 or 8 years old.
Oh,
I mean, well, I started writing songs at 7, but I think I was around 8 or 9 when I determined in my head, like, no, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Damn. So what was it that you heard that influenced you? Was it the introduction into hip hop, or was it, because I know you draw, right? You're an artist as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we kind of share in that, because I always say that I could draw really well and write poetry when I was younger, and it seems to be a natural transition to that written expression from being an artist,
because it's all art.
Exactly. So what music or what artists influenced you early on?
And I think I've said this, and I'll say it again because it's the truth. It started with New Edition.
Okay.
I was literally, you know, for those of the viewers that are old enough to know who New Edition is,
for sure.
I was sitting down watching Cool It Now video by New Edition.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it, man. It was like deja vu. When they got to the end of the song and he was like, "Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mac," and I was like, now I don't know how to sing, but whatever that was he just was doing, I can do that. So I went, you know, I got my friend out the neighborhood. We got together that day and we wrote a song for the first time. And I still kind of, I'm gonna just say this. I still remember the first song I wrote when I was 16 years
So
old.
Mac, was it an R&B song or a rap song?
No, it was a rap song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you remember the first 8 bars?
Unfortunately, I do.
You do? You don't want to spit it?
I know it was something to the effect of, like, because my rap name at the time was, I called myself Zodiac.
Okay.
Zodiac came from, they had some sneakers that were out at that time, and I just thought they looked good. I was a kid. So, you know, you're looking for something to call yourself. So I called myself Zodiac. And I think the first couple bars was something like, "Zodiac is my name, girls is my style. I'm smooth as the wind, I'm slick as the file." You know, all that kind of stuff. This was like,
that sounds like almost like some Big Daddy Kane cadence.
Yeah, you're talking about 84.
Yeah.
Like, this was like 84, 85, and that was the style back then.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we about the same age. I think I'm a year older than you. You 77, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm 76. So before hip hop, we really, like, think about it. We had Culture Club, you know what I'm saying? George Michael and Duran and all that shit.
Right.
You know, so, but for you to write that rap, which it seemed like it was advanced, you know what I'm saying? Had you heard Run DMC and Fat Boys and all that? Were you already exposed to that?
Yeah, you know, I was hearing at the time, I think in the 80s, I remember groups like my uncle Shedrick, who you know, we just buried a couple months ago. Rest in peace, my Uncle Bean.
Condolences.
He was probably the earliest influence on hip hop that I had, because my Uncle Bean was really into the hip hop culture, and he was a fan of like Mantronics, Tila Rock back then, the Gucci crew, and just all of the people he used to listen to. I would be in the car with him and his friends, and I remember just hearing all of those voices, whether it was Run DMC, whether it was you name it, Just Ice, you know, just, I'm talking about early 80s when you had groups that were the Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah.
And he used to listen to this stuff, and I would always be in the car with him just listening. And I think by the time I started writing raps, I mean, my head was so full, I had already memorized all them other songs. So it was kind of like what I was doing was almost just like biting their flavor,
Yeah.
but using my own words. You know?
Yeah, that's how it starts. When I first started as a rapper, same thing. Everything I did was in the cadence of Eazy-E. It wasn't nothing but Eazy-E just with my words.
Right.
So
that's what you heard.
That's what I
You know
heard.
what I mean?
That's how we find
Right.
ourselves. So you started hella young. Damn, that's crazy. So at what point did you start doing talent shows and shit like that?
Yeah, like so I started joining the programs that were going on at the school and in elementary school. And what's weird is I won. We had this thing in elementary called putting on the hits, right? And we had to basically you do another person's song, like we did familiar songs that were for people. And I recall winning the talent show by doing a song by Heavy D called Mr. Big Stuff.
Yeah.
It was me, and I had 3 girls dancing for me. And I was like the skinniest kid in the school doing a Heavy D song.
Yeah.
And the name of it was Mr. Big Stuff.
Yeah.
And I won.
Yeah. So you did your own rap to that beat, or you just redid his song?
No, redid his. We did the dance steps.
Oh,
We did
okay.
all the moves and stuff. Yeah, we did everything. So, at that time, that was like a big thing at the school.
Yeah.
So I won that. And ironically, the last in the finals were I was part of like the 2 performances that were the finalists. So I was going to win either way because I had the thing with the girls. I was doing Heavy D, and me and 2 other guys did a song called Two Occasions by a group called The Deal.
Yeah, I remember The Deal, Babyface.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how it was.
Okay. Did y'all have the influence of bounce? Had that been a thing in New Orleans at that time?
No.
Okay.
No, bounce came about bounce technically came about in 1992.
Okay.
And what's credited, I should say, what's credited with being the origin of bounce was a song called Where They At by T.T. Tucker.
Okay.
But and credit is definitely due to that song. But I will say that the precursor, I think that's the word I want to use.
Yeah.
To bounce was a song called Bug Jump Time by a group then known as Gregory D and DJ Manny Fresh.
Ah, wow. You talking about the Manny Fresh, the producer?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, where did Trigger Man come in?
Man, what's weird is I remember hearing Trigger Man as early as it was like the early or mid 80s when I first heard the song Trigger Man. And it was real popular in New Orleans. So popular to the point that a lot of New Orleanians really thought that the creators of Trigger Man were from New Orleans. And these guys were actually from New York.
Really? That's news to me. I just learned that. I thought there was New Orleans niggas.
In the song, they say the story starts in Notorious Queens. You know what I mean? So
I thought that was a New Orleans group with a New
nah,
Orleans record.
that was the show. That was actually the Showboys is the name of the group. And the name of the song is actually not Trigger Man. The name of the song is actually Drag Rap.
Drag Rap.
That's the
right.
song.
Yes.
That's the name of the song. But Trigger Man became, in New Orleans, we kind of whatever sticks out the most, that's what we're gonna call the song.
Yeah. So you being a kid and knowing that you want to rap, did you get into trouble as a kid?
I mean, I probably as a trouble and
like
what kind of
trouble. Like were you the type to like getting suspended and like going to juvie shit like that, like criminal shit? Okay.
No. See the way this worked out with my parents was like, they were like, they told the producers at the time that I was under contract with, because I begged my parents to sign this contract. I was like 12. And when I signed the contract, I was maybe 11 or 12 when I signed the contract, and I begged my parents. And they had one condition. Hey, you, stop. So that one condition was my cat is scratching at you.
I told you about them cats, Mac. I don't fuck with it. I told you about it. Who that,
So
Frida? That's Frida fucking up?
Yeah, that's Big Frida. She tripping. So she having her moment right now. But one of the conditions they had was, they said, if your grades go down, this contract is basically null and void. And they let my producers know if he starts slacking in his schoolwork, this is over with.
Wow.
So I had straight A's as a student in school when I was a kid, because I really wanted to make sure, that was my payment to my parents for allowing me to do, what I wanted to do.
Damn. So your first record deal, you say you were how old?
12.
12.
Well, the album came out right between 7th and 8th grade. That summer, I think the record came out. So it was like 89, 90-ish. But I signed a contract when I was around 11.
Damn. So this was this with a local label in New Orleans?
Well, it was with a label that was from Texas, actually, Dallas, Texas. It was called Yo Records.
Okay.
And my label mates at the time were, of course, Gregory D and Manny Fresh, who were my producers. There was a guy named Ron C. I remember from back in the days. He was on the label.
Oh, you talking about Ron C, trendsetter Ron C?
Yeah, he was on the label as well.
Yeah.
And a group called Nemesis. These guys
Nemesis.
that did a lot of bass music. They were on the group. They were on the label as well.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, I know Ron C. He's coming to the show, but I grew up on Ron C. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on Your Records too. And I never met him. I just knew we were all label mates.
Okay. I thought so at some point Ron C went from Yo to Profile, because I know he was on Profile as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, probably so. Because I think Profile was more of a distributor, or I think they were a bigger label. Yo Records was kind of an independent Texas. It was a Dallas, Texas label.
Okay. How did they get wind of you? I mean, you 11 years old. You was making noise in New Orleans like that?
Well, lucky for me, my uncle was real cool with this rapper named Sporty T in New Orleans. And Sporty T is another guy, rest in peace. He's dead. And he was the first person who I would say I emulated my style after, because this was my uncle's best friend. And he rapped with a guy named Gregory D. They put out the first record in New Orleans they put out the first rap record to be on the radio in New Orleans. It was called We Destroy, like in '86 it came out. And they called themselves the Ninja Crew. Well, when they split, Sporty went one way, Greg went another way, and Greg found a DJ from the 7th Ward named Manny Fresh. So they started a production company called Two Hype Producers. And because Greg was friends with my uncle, he had saw me at a couple of talent shows. And I came to his house and rapped for him before, and he told me straight up, he looked me in my eyes and was like, "Look, Lil Mac, if I ever get on, I'm gonna come get you. I got you." And I'm a kid, so I'm just thinking he's just talking. But when he got, in position, he pulled me in.
Wow. Okay. And so that's where you came up with what was it, the Lyrical Midget?
Yeah, which was basically my way of saying I'm the youngest dude in the industry at the time, and I'm here. Okay.
Was your name Mac at that point? You had become
Mac?
It
was Lil Mac.
Lil
They
Mac.
Just called me, they've been calling me Lil Mac since I was born. My daddy was Big Mac.
Okay. So. Okay. And so how many records did you put out with Yo Records?
One. I just put one album out.
Okay.
I would say it was like 12 songs.
How did that record do?
It did okay regionally or locally. As you know, at the time, I just believed that the company didn't have I don't think they had the experience they didn't really know what to do with a child rapper, because that was pretty much unheard of at that time.
Because let me see, if this was probably 90, 91. So at that point, what was it?
No, this was 89.
89. Okay.
Yeah, so this like young, what's his name wasn't even out yet. Special Ed wasn't even out yet.
Okay. Because I remember Rap-A-Lot had Tulo. And that was probably 90, 91.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess it was something new, and I don't think they really just they were trying to market me as a Fresh Prince type rapper. Right.
Okay.
And, in hindsight, I'm looking back, I probably should have just rolled with that gimmick, because it probably would have kicked in the door for me, because they were trying to, I guess, they're adults, and they're sitting there trying to figure out how to market this kid.
Right.
So they're like, well, we can do the parents just don't understand type of thing. And, whereas with me, I was kind of reluctant because I grew up, I was a Rakim fanatic. So I wanted to battle rap. I just wanted to follow the lead of everybody. I just wanted to, and they were trying to give me this gimmick that probably would have worked had I been open to accept it. But I just was fighting against it.
Right. I mean, you had to be yourself too. You know what I mean? So, and so once you release that record, then what happens after that? I mean, you just go to school, because there's a gap between I'm assuming once you did that record and you ended up in No Limit, there's a several year gap. So what were you doing in between that time?
Well, that was only the first contract I signed.
Okay.
I probably signed 2 other contracts before I got with No Limit.
Okay.
So I always was busy, doing stuff. So I dealt with them, and once I left them, I formed a group with me, my cousin Wiz, and my DJ Wop, who is one of Manny Fresh's closest friends. We formed a group called Three Flavors. We were supposed to put something out, I think around 92-ish, 91, 92, kind of fell through. So then I met this young lady named Storm, and we formed a group, Mac and Storm, and we put out a record in New Orleans called Mad or Jealous in like 95, I want to say 94, 95. And I think it was around that time that I started meeting people who would eventually be part of my No Limit, stint.
Okay.
So I think around 95, 96 is when my cousin started telling me that, and my cousin is also deceased. He was a No Limit artist. His name is Schoech, but he rapped with a group called the Prime Suspects.
Yeah, I remember Schoech. Yeah, rest in peace to
so,
Schoech. Yeah.
So Schoech started telling me around 96, he was like, "Cuz, man, you got to come get with No Limit." And I was just like, at the time, I didn't know that. What was weird was I didn't know that Master P was from New Orleans at the time.
Right.
I thought this was a guy from the West Coast.
Right.
And and what was crazy, so he was like, "Man, you got to get with him, bro. This, that, and the other." And initially, I was kind of reluctant because I was like, "Man, my style is kind of different from what they're doing, And I thought about something, man. I had a, I ain't gonna say an epiphany, but what I thought about was I was like, well, yo, this may be the perfect opportunity because I'm gonna stick out like a sore thumb in reference to everything else they're doing. So I was like, yo, this might be a good look. So so I went over there, I gave it a shot, and eventually everything worked out.
So I want to drag it back a little bit. So initially you started out, you were very lyrical, right? What was some of your early work? Like, what was your subject matter? Were you, because I mean, we grew up in the crack era, and I know it hit New Orleans like it hit everywhere else. And even in New Orleans, y'all had a heroin epidemic. So you growing up around the violence, even though you have this strong family unit, but you still got to go outside. You know what I'm saying? So you're still exposed to the elements. At what point does that start creeping into your music and you start incorporating, okay, I'm on some lyrical shit, but damn, it's this other shit happening too?
Right. I think when I started even speaking about the stuff that was around me, because I was kind of a different kid. Like, I actually hated the crack game. I never sold drugs. I hated it because I saw what it did to my family. I saw what it did to like my friends and different people in the neighborhood. So I was actually one of the rappers in the early 90s that refused to even talk about that in my music because I just felt like I saw it every day. It was something that I didn't want to be reminded of, if that made sense.
Yeah, for sure.
I used to buck against it. So I think just as my defense mechanism against it, I used to listen to groups like Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Leaders of the New School. These were the artists that I kind of grew up, really, really soaking in their vibe. Rakim, who I credit for being my first professor, because Rakim was able to get me to do something my teachers couldn't, and that was to actually go in the encyclopedia and read, because in order to understand some of the stuff he was saying in songs, I had to go find out what this stuff was, because he was talking about stuff that was in my little teenage mind over my head. And I don't like nothing being over my head. So I went to reading, and in reading, it opened my mind up to, man, so much more. And I think the natural progression was I started listening to more educated MCs, or what appeared to be more educated, because truth be told, a lot of the rappers that were spitting some of the more gangster lyrics were also educated.
Right.
A lot of people just didn't know that.
Exactly.
And they were doing what they were doing to sell records.
Right.
Whereas for me, at that time, I was more of like, man, I didn't really care about the money at that time as much. It was about me being true to myself and trying to uplift the people. But as I've mentioned, then the stomach and the brain had an argument. And we all know when the brain and the stomach have an argument, the stomach is 9 times out of 10 gonna win, man. That appetite is strong.
You had to get to it.
When you get hungry, all your common sense go out the window when you get hungry. So that time came, and
So let me ask you. So with you having you and Manny Fresh obviously go back to kids. So he's already at Cash Money. What made you, because obviously you had an inroad to Cash Money as well as No Limit, because you had a cousin over at No Limit. What made you choose to go to No Limit over Cash Money?
I think it probably just had to do with Cash Money had already had their premier established artists at the time. They were, when I was dealing with Cash Money, I did a song on BG's first album, the Chopper City album, and I did a song with him on there, and it was dope. And I just like the vibe. I like that album. That was to me who we called Jeezy at the time. Before Young Jeezy came out in New Orleans, we called BG Jeezy. So at that time, Jeezy was at his rawest to me, and I really, really liked that project. And I guess I just felt that they had their established artists. They had BG, they had UNLV, they had Juvenile at the time. So when I looked at No Limit, to me it was like a clean canvas. You know what I mean? I could go here and stand out.
I got you. Yeah, because at that time, that's funny because you and I, in terms of our tenure at No Limit, which I'm still there, but we missed each other because I signed, and you probably don't know because we never met. But I had signed with No Limit in 1995. I'm from Kansas City, and so this is when P was still out in Northern California. I was a part of the group called CCG. If you remember Down South Hustlers?
Oh, I heard him mention that before, but I never knew that.
That was me. So you remember the Down South Hustlers double CD?
Right.
And you remember the song R.I.P.?
Right.
That's me.
I remember CCG.
That's
I remember
me.
The group. I didn't know that was you.
That was me. Yeah. And so I rapped like third. I think I was the third verse on that song or whatever the case may be. And then
I'm gonna have to go back and check that out.
Yeah.
I never knew that. When I heard you mention it, I'm like, damn, he must have signed after I got locked up.
It was
but
before.
You was there before
I
me.
was there before. Yeah. And so and so you came at like 90s, you said 96?
97 I signed.
97.
I started affiliating and associating with him in 96.
Okay. Who came and got you from No Limit? Was this Canoe telling you to go over there, or did Boz or somebody came and tapped you on the shoulder?
It was a combination of people. It was all right. So the first thing I did was I did a song with Cain and Abel.
Right.
I did a song called God and Guns with Cain and Abel. And P heard it, and I came to their video shoot, and that was my first time actually meeting P. But it was weird because me signing was a combination of Cain and Abel, Fiend, Mia X, KLC, and if I'm forgetting someone, I apologize if y'all listening if I'm forgetting somebody. But those are the names in my head that's sticking out right now, and I know it probably was more, and it's somebody I'm probably forgetting, but I know it was a combination of Cain and Abel, Fiend, Mia, KLC. And those were and my cousin Skanu, of course. Those were the people I think that were in Percy's ear, like, yo, you need to check this kid out.
Yeah. Every time that I talk to Boz and your name comes up, he always speaks very highly of you. You know what I'm saying? Boz thinks, you know what I'm saying, you one of the best rappers to ever touch a mic. You know what I mean? And I think it was.
He just told me that a few times.
Yeah. I think it was a good look because I remember when you came to No Limit as well, and it's so funny. I tell people all the time, like with P has so many relationships with so many people, and sometimes they don't cross. You know what I mean? You could be knowing P and know this person for 30 years, know this person for 30 years, and y'all never know each other.
Never
you know
met
what I'm saying?
Right.
But
that's
I think
a man that's covering a lot of ground.
Exactly. But I think that you were a good addition to No Limit because you did bring that lyrical prowess. You know what I'm saying? You brought that hip hop. Not that anyone else wasn't, but No Limit is an
right.
infamous, street rap, gangster rap label. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you brought that that lyrical shit where, you know what I mean, that hip hop was looking for. You did a song with Nas as well too, right?
Right.
Yeah. What was that like? Because I'm assuming he had to be one of the ones that you really, you know what I'm saying, admired on the rap shit. What was it like to be on the same track with him?
Well, that was I would say it was sort of like a dream come true, but we never were in the studio together.
Oh,
it's crazy because Nas sent his aid that he did his part, I think, in New York, and we did ours in California, and he sent it. But what's weird is I met Nas before I got to No Limit. I actually met Nas outside the House of Blues in New Orleans one day. Right before one of his performances, me and my partner Sam, we went around there to get a ticket, and we just saw him just sitting outside by himself smoking a cigarette. So we met him there. So, when we finally met again when I was with P, I don't even think I mentioned to him that I met him before.
Yeah.
But as far as the song is concerned, it was sort of like a dream come true because he was definitely one of those MCs that I really looked up to from a street and lyrical aspect. He kind of put me in the mind of Rakim in a way that he still appeared to be a street guy, which were the guys that I related to being in my neighborhood, but was able to tell me something intelligent through their music. People like him, people like CL Smooth, that was one of my favorites. Of course, your Cool G Rap. It was a lot of guys back then that I would say that I was like, yo, this is what I see as a lane that I can follow. You know what I mean? Where you can give them the information, enlighten people, but still keep that grit.
Mm-hmm. So, man, you on No Limit. No Limit is at its pinnacle. This 97, 98, 99. Your first album was Shell Shock, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It goes gold, right?
I think it either went gold or it was like a couple copies from it.
Right.
I probably could have brought the rest of the copies to make it gold.
Nah, I think it's gold, bro. I think it's gold.
Or something like that.
Yeah. And so you here with one of the biggest labels, you know what I'm saying? You've been doing this shit since you 8 years old, and now you finally arrived. What was that feeling like? And then, getting to be around, a Master P, a mogul of such, accomplishment and his work ethic. And we both know him personally, but what was that transition like now that I'm a No Limit soldier, I'm out here?
Well, for me, it was I would say that being at No Limit and being a part of that, man, was I can't truly say that you at that time, we felt like, I know for me, I felt like I was a part of something that was bigger than myself, something that was moving. So that was a blessing just to feel that way, to feel like, yo, this is something that's powerful, it's moving, and I can say that I'm a part of it. So that was great. Now, as far as seeing, as far as Percy being a mogul, what's crazy, man, is when you're around people like that, you see why they achieve or accomplish, per se, the things that you see why. Let's put it this way: you see why that person is who they is. You see why they are admired for what they do, because they work hard. You know what I mean? And to be real with you, when you're in hip hop, a lot of us artists, we get so fixated on the talent that we forget that a large percentage in the business, per se, is the business. And when you're around people like that, it reminds you, with him and there's other people that I've been around, other entrepreneurs and moguls, you get a chance to see, okay, this is why this person is that dude that they're talking about, because this person is working harder than everybody.
Exactly. And it rubs off on you too, because I've been around P since I was 17 years old. I'm 45 now. You know what I mean? And meeting him in 95, and then we came back together when we both moved to LA like 20 years ago, and we've been, you know, just moving ever since then. You know what I mean? So it rubs off on you, and people don't see the hard work that goes on behind the scenes. They think that everything just happens just magically. Like, it's a lot of hard work, you know, to achieve those goals. Did you? Let me ask you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was about to say, like, and just another example would be somebody like, there's a guy in New Orleans named Trombone Shorty.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And Trombone Shorty, I was in the studio with Trombone Shorty recently, and I got a chance to like actually see this guy at work. And you know, when I left, I looked at my partner who I went there with, and I said, man, so this is why he's Trombone Shorty.
Yeah.
Because this dude is putting in work in the studio, man.
Yeah.
And so you get a chance to see that, this person is serious about their craft and they do what they do. And that's how I equated P with business. Like, this guy was always on the phone with these people, people making calls here, flying there. He just was moving to make all of this stuff happen.
Yeah. Shout out to Trombone Shorty. That's fam. That's Boz's nephew. Yeah. Yeah. That's fam. So let me ask you, so with you, you know, being you a No Limit soldier, and of course in New Orleans you have this I'm not gonna say it's a no limit cash money thing, but it's a thing. But not really, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? How did you navigate that, being that y'all all grew up together, you all see each other, y'all go back? How did you navigate that thing? Or was it never a thing for you personally?
Wait, back it up. So you said if there was a thing, then how the last point?
How did you navigate it, if it even affected you? I'm saying as an artist, as Mac, being from No Limit, but you also have friends at Cash Money. You see what I'm saying? So how did you navigate that? Was it ever anything or no? You know, did you feel tribal? Like, okay, you know what? There's No Limit. We ain't really rocking with y'all. So even though we go back, or was it like, man, we ain't tripping on that shit? Well,
I mean, I can't speak for other people, but I know for me, it wasn't like that, because me and BG used to talk damn near every day, all day. You know what I mean? So, you know, me and BG kind of grew up with each other. So he was a few years younger than me. Me, him, and Slim were like, you know, we were close. And so when the rumors of the Cash Money or No Limit, when all of that stuff, when the rumors of all that was going on, I guess for me, it was just like, you know, I ain't getting caught up in that, because this my partners, these my partners, and you know, I'm kind of neutral in that. You know what I mean?
Got you. Okay. Did so now you got Shell Shock. You got that. You riding high with that. Then you do World War III, correct?
Right.
Okay. That came out what, 98?
99.
Yeah. And you
Shell Shock was 98. World War came out September 21st or 28, I believe, 1999.
So Beats by the Pound, did they produce both of those albums?
No, they did the first one. By the time World War III came out, that was right after Beats by the Pound kind of split. You know, they kind of split. They
so did XL do your World War III?
Yeah, XL did a lot of. It was XL, Bass Heavy. My partner Renault, who did the track "The Best Friends." You was my nigga, now we beefing and all that. He did that. My partner Raj did a track on there. My DJ Wap did something on there, I believe. So it was a combination of producers on that one.
Okay, yeah. Shout out to the homie XL. That's my brother, man.
Yeah.
What was that like? The transition, you know, did you feel that, you know, working with Beats by the Pound and having to work with a whole other production team? Did you feel like, you know what I'm saying, that kind of fuck with you creatively, or did it just flow? It was like, okay, cool. Or did you miss that sound?
Nah, it flowed. I mean, of course, you know, you're gonna miss a sound like Beats by the Pound, but it flowed for me, I guess, because even when I got with No Limit, the established sound that Beats by the Pound had created for No Limit, that wasn't what I was particularly used to rapping to anyway. So, you know, any type of adjustment for me was I would say pretty easy. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, working with Beats by the Pound, I grew to love that sound. You know what I mean? And it was definitely something that I was used to having in the studio. But I mean, just like anything else,
Mm-hmm.
when something, when you don't have this, you just got to make adjustments, and that's what I did.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, which did XL, did he do most of your World War III?
I would have to actually go back and look at how many he did, because like I said, it was a combination of people. It was, I remember X doing some, I remember Renault doing some, Sugar Bear, Raj, WAP, Kino,
did
something on there. I produced like
mm-hmm.
2 of them on there.
Mm-hmm. Which song was, because one of my favorite songs that you did, Mac, was
Carlos did one too.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to Carlos. Yeah.
Yeah, CeeLos.
Yeah. One of my favorite songs that you did was what was the one, I think, with Moby Dick, y'all redid You're My Brother, You're My Brother.
That was on Shell Shock.
That was on Shell Shock?
Yeah, that was on Shell Shock.
Yeah, that was my shit. Yeah, that was my shit.
That was, man, I had been trying to redo that song for a long time.
What's that original song? What is that from?
That's Charlie Wilson. That's the Gap Band, Wednesday Lover.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that was like one of my favorite songs when I was growing up, Wednesday Lover, man. So I had to do something with that.
Yeah.
And the song that I put on the 504 Boys album, Hanging Uptown, that was another song that I've been trying to redo.
What was that, Cameo that you redid?
Yeah.
Hanging Downtown. Hanging Downtown. Okay, yeah.
Right.
Did you, how did it make you feel? You know that Rod Wave kind of borrowed from that song. Have you heard that?
Which one? My Brother?
Yeah, My Brother.
Whoa, I didn't know
you
that.
didn't know that? I have to send you the song. Yeah, him and Moneybagg Yo. Yeah, they did a song.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they kind of borrow. It's kind of an interpolation of your song, My Brother, but they call it. It's like it's a play on "You My Mud Brother, Don't Change on a Nigga." Yeah, it's the whole thing from your shit. I'll send it to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
No, I was saying when
man, shout out to Rod Wave. Look, shout out to Rod Wave and Moneybagg Yo.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna send it to you.
When I was if I'm remembering it right, World War III though, there was like way less features on that album. Was that intentional? Because I remember Shell Shock has so many features on it. It was a great album. But World War III, the feature list was like small, and it was a lot more solo song. If I'm remembering that right.
Yeah, I guess you can. I had some features on there, but I do think it was probably a lot of songs without features as well. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't even know if it was done unintentional. I don't know if it was done intentionally or if it just happened like that. I do know that Shell Shock, if I wouldn't have been around, let's put it this way, Shell Shock would have happened with all the features as well. It's just, when you're around cats and you're in the studio, everybody is, with each other. You're like, yo, hop on this, or hop on that. So I think that it was definitely unintentional as far as how World War III was done. But World War III was also a reflection of a different time in my life. Like, I think that, at that time I was kind of, in hindsight, I think I was depressed. And I didn't know at the time that I was depressed. You don't know that until you kind of grow up and understand what depression is.
Real shit.
But I think when I recorded World War III, that's why it's kind of more introspective and it's more somber, as you would say.
Yeah.
I think it's darker than Shell Shock.
What you think contributed to that depression? What do you think it stemmed from?
I don't know, man. What's weird is I think that how I describe it is almost like at least a poor man knows, at least a poor man has the hope that money will make him happy. And that hope alone just gives him the drive that he needs to keep going to make money.
Right.
Now, I think when I recorded Shell's World War III, I understood what it was like to have money and not be happy. And when you get to that place in your life, it's like, yo, that's a dangerous place. When you have everything that you want and yet you still don't have happiness.
Yeah.
And that can open up a window for a lot of other demons per
Right,
se,
right.
for lack of better terms. But I think during that time, I was like, man, I got all this stuff. I can do what I want. I can go what I want, go where I want. And I just discovered that there ain't no wizard. It's like
Wow.
being at the Wizard of Oz, going to pull a curtain back and find out there ain't no wizard.
Yeah, I mean, shit, Mac, I'm right there with you, bro. You know, I've had to deal with depression on and off my whole life. I mean, for me, I think that it was something hereditary, you know, something passed down from my mother. Do you think that possibly, I mean, did you ever peel the layers back to figure out where it was precipitating from, or was it something chemical? Was it actually just, you know, maybe shit, unresolved shit you were, you know, suppressing or just having to deal with, or just simply chemical? Did you get to the bottom of it?
I think it could have been a combination of those things. My dad, I named Shell Shock because my dad is a Vietnam War veteran. So that's why I named that first album Shell Shock. And, you know, just growing up, we've had to deal with my father's, you know, we had to deal with different things, him being, you know, shell shock. I remember my dad jumping up in the middle of his sleep, shivering and all type of stuff like that when I was a kid. And I don't, you know, and I only make reference to it now that you've mentioned it. I never even considered that all of that could have contributed to what eventually became my state of depression. You know, as far as growing up, I was always a very thoughtful child. I spent a lot of time to myself, even though I was very outgoing as well. Like I was very outgoing. I was always outside. I was one of them kids, you had to run me inside. I didn't want to be inside. I was outside all day. So I always was outside. But when I was in the house to myself, I spent a lot of time thinking. And man, I used to have some very, I would say, interesting thoughts as a child. Like I remember questioning like life and existence at like 11, asking my mama, like, what is this? What is all of this? Why? This doesn't even make sense to me. So those are the kind of things that I remember as a child. And now that you've mentioned peeling back those layers, all of that could have probably contributed to what eventually led to me being in a state of depression.
Damn, bro, that's funny. Our experiences are somewhat linear because same thing with me, bro. I'm an only child, so I spent a lot of time by myself. Same thing. I was outgoing. I played sports. I was popular, but I still spent a lot of time by myself. And they say, you know, idle mind is the devil's playground. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I would have all of those thoughts. It'd be nights I couldn't sleep as a kid, and I'm thinking about homeless people. I'm thinking about death. I'm thinking about all kind of shit, and mind just going.
Right.
But they say that, you know, people that suffer from depression, you know, we feel everything. We take on everything. Shit that don't got shit to do with us. You feel the ills of the world. You feel the plight of the world, all of that shit. And you got to learn how to kind of sit down and center yourself and kind of be able to disconnect and decompress, you know what I mean? And then peel back them layers too. You know, everybody got a history. Everybody got shit, trauma in different ways. And trauma's not always abuse and shit like that. Like, think about it. We from the hood. So it's not normal for me to see a friend shot dead at 13 or you know, finding dead bodies around my neighborhood or you know, just having to go to funeral after funeral. And, you know, you see it even in the home, you may see, you know, alcoholism and violence and different shit like that. A lot of that shit affects people in different ways. You know what I'm saying? And it manifests itself as you grow. And some shit, it just come out the clear blue. You like, where the fuck that come from? You know what I mean? Right. So yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And that was sad, I think, in some instances is, man, I think as being from the hood, I think we become desensitized to a lot of stuff that happened, and it's almost like it is normalized. If I would say, it's like, you know, it was normal for me to see somebody get shot, and that shouldn't be. Like, it shouldn't be. Normal to the point where, you know, kids in the hood get to the point where someone gets shot and it's like, damn. But anyway, what time the game come on? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, because it becomes something that we see so often till we're like, man, they ain't my people. But anyway, and move out. So yeah. And I think that those things, even though we become desensitized, we still cannot wipe out what actually enter our senses. We can't wipe it out. So at that moment, for whatever reason, we may not feel nothing for what we just saw, but you're still a human. So when you grow and you mature to a point where you begin to feel
exactly,
and you still got those images in your mind, and now when those images play back to you, it creates a reaction now. So you'll find yourself just breaking out crying behind something that happened 20 years ago that when you saw it, it meant nothing to you.
Real talk.
And I think that can be a contributing factor without a doubt. Just the things that we've seen can be a contributing factor.
And even us talking through it, like even you saying that when you did Shell Shocked, you were depressed, but yet you have
World War.
I'm sorry, World War III. And you know, you have money, you know what I mean? You doing your career, you doing what you love. It's funny because the same thing with me. Like at a point when I really started getting to some money, I'm seeing success. You know what I think it was with us? It's like we became civilians. We got out of survival mode. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we got a chance to be a civilian and look back. See, just like when you was in jail, you had to become the nigga you had to become to survive in there, right?
Right.
But now when you free, you kind of looking back like, fuck. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you're not thinking like you was when you was locked up because you ain't got to be that nigga. But when we in the hood and we just going through what we going through, we have on this armor. You know what I'm saying? Like you say, we taught not to show emotion. We taught not to, you know what I'm saying? Everything is just so aggressive, you know, as Charlemagne would say, toxic masculinity and all of that shit, you know what I'm saying? But when we get to a point to where we can be quiet, you know, and things are peaceful, it's like all that shit, you got to deal with it now. Like, damn, I guess I am human, you know what I'm saying? And
because an old person once told me, you are who you really are when nobody's watching.
Exactly.
So when nobody's watching and you're left to your thoughts, and some people can't handle their thoughts. That's why they get that's why they ingest all these chemicals that we call drugs.
Yeah, self-medicate.
They're taking all these drugs, they get loaded, they smoking, they shooting, they doing whatever to keep themselves from thinking. For whatever reason, they're running from their own thoughts.
Yeah.
And I do believe that an idle mind without proper guidance can be the devil's workshop. Because some kids, if you leave them to their thoughts, they would build the internet.
Yeah.
They would build
this is true.
a spaceship. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But these are kids that I think that are, you know, people, we can arguably say that they are born with a certain level of IQ, which could be, I'm not here to debate whether or not that's true, but I do know that when a kid is properly taught and educated and balanced, then when they're left to their own thoughts, you're going to get the best out of it.
So World War III, that comes out, I believe that went damn near gold as well. So that was your last album with No Limit? Okay. And so that was 99, correct?
Right.
Okay, so said incident, we ain't even got to get into it for real because it's already well documented. That happened in 2000?
Yeah, February 2000, early 2000.
February 2000. And I'm sure everybody watching has seen, if you haven't seen it, go pull up, you know, McKinley Phipps, the whole case. I seen it on Discovery. It's, you know what I'm saying? There's plenty shit out there. Right. So, but for those who don't know your story, you know, you can tell it just real quick. You don't have to get into the incident, but what happened in 2000?
Well, in 2000, you know, on February 20th, my mother hosted this event in Slidell, Louisiana. I came to the event as a special guest, and sometime around midnight, which made it February 21st, somewhere after midnight, a fight broke out on the dance floor, leaving a young man. A young man, as a result, lost his life. And, you know, my condolences to his family. And a couple hours later, I was arrested at my home. And they arrested me because witnesses say they saw me pull out a gun. And I think in 2001 was my trial. I was found guilty of manslaughter. But a week after my arrest, a person actually came forth and told the officers that they were the person that shot this guy. And I still was convicted by an all-white jury in a very rural parish in Louisiana.
Which parish was that, Jefferson?
St. Tammany.
Oh, okay, wow. You were in Slidell?
Slidell, Louisiana, yeah.
Wow.
And the parish was St. Tammany.
That shit crazy. Now, real quick, Mac, that night you had a 38, or was it 357? What was it?
No, I had a 38.
38, which was registered and legal.
Registered to me. Yeah,
right.
Legally registered.
Registered to you. And you shot one round in the air, correct?
No.
Oh, you never shot?
I didn't shoot. I never shot the gun at all. Yeah. And they determined that. When I gave them the gun after my arrest, I gave them the gun. It was at my house. They still had all the bullets in it. They determined in court that the gun wasn't fired. But after doing that, what they did was they created the possibility. So these lawyers are clever. The district attorney was very clever, particularly the prosecutor. He didn't have any physical evidence. He didn't have any circumstantial evidence. So what he did was he created this theory in the jurors' minds. He just wanted to create the idea that it was possible for me to have gotten rid of a gun in between Slidell and Baton Rouge, which is 45 minutes apart. So because they arrested me at my house, they created the idea that I could have had another weapon because the weapon I gave them was obviously not the weapon. So they created the theory that I threw out a weapon or I could have gotten. Now, they never went to go look for any weapon. They never went try to go search for another weapon. They just created the thought in the juror's mind, which were already they were all white and predominantly middle-aged, right? And we're talking about one of the most conservative parishes in Louisiana. And I think that with all of those factors involved, I think that my innocence or guilt was already weighed by the public of that area before the trial even started.
But they had someone who copped to the shooting. Did they look into him or into any of that?
No, they let him go. They told him that basically they threatened him because they felt like he was interfering with their investigation. The words they used with my father was they have who they want. They let this guy go and they held an accessory after the fact charge over his head until after my charges was resolved, and they dropped his and let him go.
Wow. Did they ever test your hands? Did they ever test your clothes for gunpowder residue?
Yes, they did. Those tests were never found. They supposedly not only never found them, they got an expert officer to get on the stand and testify. And this is in the transcripts for those who want to look it up. He testified, I think his name was Officer Stubbs. He testified that paraffin tests are unreliable in Louisiana, and therefore we don't use them in Louisiana, was his exact words.
Wow.
Now, I wonder how the hundreds or possibly thousands of people who were indeed convicted because of paraffin tests, right. I wonder if they really, I wonder how they felt after hearing this guy say that they're unreliable and we therefore don't use them in Louisiana. But that was what he had to say to counter the idea of us even finding just in case we find the paraffin test, look, they're unreliable anyway.
Yeah, they're unreliable, but we did do them. We just don't know where they're at.
They can't find them. We couldn't find them. Yeah. The cameras that were in the club as well, we couldn't find the tapes because there were surveillance cameras in the club. We couldn't find them either.
So when they make the statement, we got who we want, do you think that, it was because of you being a part of No Limit and it was the same thing that because, you know, we've all been targeted. I know that I've been at the airport and me and P been coming off the plane and feds is waiting on us just for no reason.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we know that Rap-A-Lot has been targeted. Death Row was targeted. Murder Inc. was targeted. Do you think that it was kind of like, okay, that incident happened, you got wrapped up in it, but, oh, you one of them No Limit boys. We got you. You think that played a part into it?
Yeah and no.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I do think that No Limit was targeted.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that I was targeted in particular because of circumstances surrounding this case, right? And I was the leader, or I was the just bluntly put, I was the most famous person in the room. So when the witnesses said, one of the witnesses said, Mac Nim. Nim don't have a name in the face, right? But that guy on that poster do. So I believe that when the officers came looking for me, I like to believe that they really thought they had the person who did this. I like to believe that. I try to believe that because I try to be objective. You know, I try to believe that these men actually came looking for the person who they thought was responsible. Yet, I do think that where the malice came in is once they found out that this person was not, because I do believe that sometime in the middle of the night, they started realizing that we may actually be questioning the wrong person. But then I believe that the peer pressure from their community and just the opportunity to break the big case for that parish, I think that was stronger than what was actually right in their consciousness. Yeah. So I think they just rolled with it, and they got lazy with their police work. Instead of fully investigating this crime, it's like, nah, we have this person, and instead of wasting our time on investigating whether or not this person did it, we're going to spend that same time proving by however means we can the person that we want to basically tie this crime to this guy that we got in custody.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say it, Mac. I mean, it was careers built off your conviction. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you was famous at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You were a famous gangster rapper, a part of a label who they don't want there anyway. Because at that time, P was in Baton Rouge. He up there in the governor's fucking gated section. They didn't want y'all down there. You know what I'm saying?
Want us there.
So we're going to come up. This is sensationalized. We got the fucking gangster rapper niggers, and we finna show y'all why they don't need to be here. That's really what it was. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. And I do believe that was definitely a contributing factor. The other side of it is I was just in the wrong place at the right time for them. It was like, oh, we got us one. So now we not only have us one, there were certain things or certain factors that also contributed to me being the target. And so with a combination of all of that, I think that it was the perfect opportunity for them to set an example for their parish. Like, yo, this is what we do. We're tough on crime. Well, it was almost like the perfect situation for them. And where I think that it was wrong was, had these guys wholeheartedly believed that I was the person who did this, and they followed through with it, I wouldn't even be mad at it. Because even though you were wrong, you really believed that you were doing the right thing. But that's not the case. I strongly believe that somewhere in between my house and getting back to their office, they knew what was up. And instead of doing the right thing, they allowed their appetite for fame for them
Of course.
To get in the
Cloud chasing at its best.
Cloud chasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at that time, had C already been dealing with his situation, or was his situation after yours?
His came 2 years later.
Okay. So so a jury of 12 convicted a man who was never caught with a weapon, never had a criminal record, never broke a law, never, you know what I'm saying, and cooperated. You didn't run, you didn't flee, you know.
Right.
And they sat there even with all, it wasn't even strong circumstantial evidence. It was just, well, it's possible, as you said. I mean, so once that verdict comes down of guilty, and did you get 20 with an L? Was it 25 with an L? Or
no, I got 30. I got 30 years.
Once that came down and you blew trial and they say 30 years, man, what was that moment like when you like, fuck? And then you're innocent. It's one thing when you guilty, you kind of just like, okay, you caught me with my hand in a cookie jar, but you innocent. What was that feeling like?
All right, so look, before I answer that, I want to clear up something. And I know you didn't mean it no way, but I just want to clear this up for the viewers.
Okay.
When he said cooperated, he's not saying I snitched. So
yeah. No, cooperated meaning that you didn't have nothing to say, but I was there. I was there.
Right,
I didn't do nothing.
I allowed them to use my. I cooperated in the sense when they came to my house.
Yeah.
I didn't try to buck with them. I didn't ask for no attorney.
That's what I meant.
My house.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
Oh,
yeah.
I know that's what you meant. I just wanted to let the viewers know.
Yeah.
Look, that's what we mean about
good catch, because you know these motherfuckers. They'll be in the comments like that nigga Mac a snitch. Like, no,
good
catch.
Cooperate like that. Yeah.
Good catch.
So basically, what happened was, man, I thought I was getting out the whole trial. When I tell you, I really thought that I was going to be found not guilty. I really believed that the whole way, you know, because I just was in my heart. I was like, I know I didn't do anything. So these jurors, you know, even though it was 12 white people from rural USA, I felt that these people were not going to believe this bullshit. You know what I mean? I was like, this is too weak, man. You have a guy confess. You have no evidence, like you mentioned, no circumstantial, no physical evidence, nothing. So I thought I was going to get out. So when I got convicted, I never forget when the jury came back, it was weird because I can hear two people damn near yelling from the deliberation room, like, this is bullshit. I could hear them yelling, right? So when they came out, I saw two women crying. The jurors asked the judge, what is the difference between second-degree murder and manslaughter? I was on trial for second-degree murder. When they asked the judge this question, I knew already in my heart that I was about to be convicted of manslaughter, because I felt that the jury were trying to please or appease all parties involved. I was on trial for second-degree murder. On the verdict sheet, you have not guilty, guilty, and manslaughter. You had not guilty. Wait, it was second-degree murder, guilty, not guilty of second-degree murder, and manslaughter. So I believe that what they did was chose that thing that was gonna, in their heart, appease all of the people in the court. You're gonna get the conviction for the family, and yet you're gonna give this young man, he won't get life, because second-degree murder carries life.
Right.
And manslaughter carries 40 years.
Right.
So I believe that the jury felt they were doing something that was going to satisfy everybody.
Oh, so they thought they was giving you a solid, giving you 20 years.
Right,
oh,
right.
Okay.
Because they didn't know they didn't determine the sentencing. Manslaughter carries 0 to 40 years. So I could have gotten sentenced anywhere between that range, 0 to 40, right? So I believe that they didn't believe it was a murder. I think that those people believed that whatever happened, it was unintentional. So they gave it manslaughter, right? Now, the sentencing came about 2 months later. So when they sentenced me, they basically gave me 10 years short of the max. And I remember the judge saying something to the effect, he like praised me and then like cut my head off. it was weird because the way he said it was like, what we know about McKinley Phipps is he has never had he's gainfully employed. He's this, that, and the other. He has never had a criminal record as a juvenile, never had a criminal record as an adult. In fact, the only time he has ever been in the back of a police car was for a traffic ticket, an unpaid traffic ticket. He said, and at this moment, he have a 15-month-old son. And I was like, whoa, I'm about to be. He said, but obviously he wasn't thinking of his 15-month-old son when he committed this crime, so we're going to sentence him to 30 years hard labor. What's weird is I think that I sort of chuckled inside a little bit. Like I was in a state of shock. Like I was like, like what? Like I know this motherfucker didn't just say 30 years. You know what I mean? 30 years? Mind you, at the time, I had no knowledge of the law. So in my head, 30 years was 30 freaking years in prison. I didn't know anything about the law. So I remember going back to my cell that night and I cried myself to sleep. I remember it vividly. I'm talking about I literally just laid face down on the bed with tears falling out of my eyes. And I just remember waking up the next day.
Rightfully so.
And when I woke up the next day, I was like, all right, now I got to figure this out. You know what I mean? That's when escaping crossed my mind. That's when just a lot of stuff, man, cross your mind when you're in that vulnerable, I'm trying to figure this out. So I'm like, all right, now I got to sign an appeal. I got to do this. I got to do that. And all else fails, I'm hopping that fence. They're just gonna have to do what they do. I'd rather them shoot me and I die trying to hop that damn fence than for me to be spinning because I couldn't see 30 years. I couldn't see that far.
That was my next question. I was gonna ask you, and you didn't have to answer it, but did you ever like consider suicide? Like I can't do this shit.
No,
I'm innocent. Yeah.
No, never considered that.
Okay.
I was more of like, nah, because in my mind, I'm like, if I get to the point where I'm gonna kill myself, now I'm gonna have this fence, and you're just gonna have to do what you do.
Yeah.
And if you kill me, I ain't tripping.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like, yeah, I ain't got them kind of nuts. I ain't got
real
shit. I can't put that gun in my own head.
Yeah, real shit.
One thing is like, I'm gonna take my chances because if I done got to that point where that means you ready to go. And if you ready to go, then I might well let you off me trying to get up out of here.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right. At least go out fighting. Trying to, you know what I mean?
I'm going out fighting. I ain't going out like that.
Yeah.
That's too big. That's too easy of a win for you.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So once you accept it. I mean, damn, you know you finna do 20 at least. So
10 is what they was telling me.
10.
The guys in there was like, man, you just gonna have to do a third of that, bro. You just gonna have to do 10 years and then you can go up for parole. So then I'm like, all right, cool. Now I gotta figure out, you know, this time.
So even if you're thinking that you about to do 10, I mean, how did you go straight to Angola?
No.
Okay.
I went to, what they did for me was they was trying to keep me away from the South. I guess they felt like I knew too many people in southern Louisiana, so they sent me up north. They started sending me to northern Louisiana from the time they got me out of there. They sent me up north. And that's where I started. I guess they were trying to send me somewhere where they didn't think people knew me.
Was it difficult for you to get acclimated to prison?
Man, it was weird, to be honest with you. In some ways it was, and in some ways it wasn't, man. It was like, you just do what you have to do. You know, I got to a point, you know, mentally where I was just like, all right, I'm getting out of here. So I believed every year I was getting out of there. Every year, I believed that something was going to happen that was going to overturn the situation and get me out. I believed that every year until I eventually got out. So my plan was more of like for the year, just like, okay, I'm gonna accomplish this for this year. I should be out next year. So I never really accepted the finality of being in prison. So I never allowed my mindset to become, I never became a prisoner because in my mindset, I always was getting out. I was just passing through. That was where my mind was at. So that kind of kept me focused on what I needed to do to get out.
How'd you spend your time in prison? I mean, you know, did you get into programs and different things like that, right? Music?
Yeah. Well, the first couple years, you know, I just read a lot and I was working on my case. I was like just working on that case, man. I ain't gonna do nothing but work on the case, try to get out. And then over time, what I started realizing, I was like, yo, Mac, well, it's just me talking to myself, like, Mac, well, if they let you out right now, like, dude, what you know how to do? Like, how you gonna get a job? How you gonna do this? So you better start taking some trades. So then I started taking trade schools and stuff like that because I wanted to prepare myself. I was like, all right, what if you get out? People don't want to hear you rap no more. It's over with. So you better know how to do something. And I started taking educational classes. So after doing all that, I was like, well, yo, I'm seeing guys follow a certain path. The guys that was getting out, I saw them making certain decisions and putting themselves in certain positions. So I like to win. With anything in life, I like to win. So from a prisoner standpoint, gaining your freedom is a win. So I started paying attention to the dudes who was in my position that was getting out. And I was like, okay, they're going from the education building to the law library, then they volunteering, they mentoring, and they're doing all of this. And eventually, by the time their application gets on the governor's desk, they're gone. So I started putting in the work. So that's what I started doing, man. And that's what eventually led to my release. Because I figured out within the first couple years I was in prison, I figured out that money wasn't gonna get me out of there. It's like they was letting me know, we don't care who you know and how much money they got, ain't nothing happening. They showed me better than they could tell me. So I started, it was around that time where I after understanding that, or after accepting that, that's when I started doing everything else to try to work toward getting out.
So you already locked down, and then you see what's going on with C Murder. At what point do y'all, because I know y'all wound up in Angola together, correct?
No, we wound up at Hunt together.
At Hunt together. So what was that reunion like under those circumstances? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because how many years did y'all do in Hunt together?
C came to Hunt, I think, in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So from 2017 up until my release, we was together.
Okay. So what was that like?
Bittersweet, you know, and it was always hard for me to see C in that position. Knowing him from the streets and knowing the type of person he was and how big his heart was. And, you know, C was one of them dudes who was always there for everybody he loved. And he's one of the most, his strength and his weakness to me. And because everything is, you know, one and the same, the duality of life. His strength and his weakness is loyalty. C is one of the most loyal people I've ever met in my life. And just to see him to see him be humbled, man, you know, to be in a situation where, because he keep his head high, you know, C gonna always keep his head high, he always in good spirits. And a lot of times when I encountered him, he was in good spirits when he was around me. I think just because, even if he was going through something, he always kept a good face around me, I think, because he never wanted me to worry about it. Because he knows that I always worried more about him because his situation is different from mine. And in fact, that I always knew I had an out date. I always knew that no matter what, even if I did the whole 30, even if I would have done the whole 25 and 6 that I had to do on the 30, I knew that I was eventually getting out of prison. So I was preparing from day one. C's situation was different. They gave him life. And in Louisiana, natural life means life without parole. There ain't no parole in Louisiana. And in that same vein, there is a law right now on the tables in Louisiana that me and some of my colleagues are supporting. They're trying to get parole for all lifers in Louisiana because I think, in my opinion, that it's about time, man. That that a person at least get the opportunity to go before the board.
Yeah.
We don't have that opportunity in Louisiana. Life in Louisiana means natural life. Right. That's it.
Damn.
So when I was around him, we used to talk, but I can say I always felt almost felt like a sense of guilt inside, knowing that, man, I'm gonna be leaving my boy. No matter what else happened, I'm gonna be leaving him, and that was hard for me. I don't know how he felt about it, but it was hard for me to see him in that situation.
Yeah, like survivor's guilt. You know what I mean?
Right.
Almost.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you still keep in contact with C?
Yeah.
Okay.
I talked to C. C called me about last time I spoke with him was probably about 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
How's he doing? He's good.
Once again, he's doing good. Every time I talk to him, he's always in good spirits. And, C is a fighter. He's not going to ever give up. I promise you that. He ain't going to never give up. But I think also because he knows how I feel about him, I think a lot of times, even if he's not doing all right, he always joke with me every time I talk to him. He's playful. And I think he does that because he knows that he know that it hurts me to see him in that situation.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, doing 21 years in prison, I mean, I'm sure you got some crazy stories. What was the craziest shit what was the craziest shit that you seen, locked up that you can repeat anyway?
Man, look, I'm gonna tell you the weirdest thing I seen. This is just some weird stuff. This is about as weird as something I can see. I woke up one night, this was had to be 2004. I was at a prison up north called Winfield. I never forget. I woke up one night, man, and I'm hearing a guy groaning because I wake up in the middle of the night. In my mind, I'm about to flash out because now I'm thinking that somebody is disrespecting me by having sex near my bed, right? Okay. This is what I'm thinking in my head when you wake up, and that's a no-no in prison. Yeah. You're not about to be having sex around those straight dudes, just like doing your business in front of them. That's like disrespect. Yeah. So I think it was like 2004, man. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I just heard groaning, right? Like, so, man, I turned over. I looked, and about 2 beds down from mine, a guy was getting his toes sucked. You hear me? Getting his toes sucked by a dude that looked like Danny Glover. so I'm sitting there like, what in the hell? It was one of them things I looked. Man, I was in a state of shock. I just turned over and went to sleep. And I said, man, this ain't happening. I must be dreaming. I turned my head over.
Yeah, you were shell-shocked, huh?
Man, when I tell you that was the craziest thing I seen in prison, I was like, what in the hell?
So not only was a nigga
still disrespect though?
Yeah, I mean, not only was a nigga getting his toes sucked, but the nigga looked like Danny Glover. So was this Lethal Weapon Danny Glover or Color Purple Lethal? Color Purple Danny Glover.
This was Lethal Weapon Danny Glover.
Oh,
I'm like, man. So, all right, the way it goes in prison, if you're doing it in my aisle, that's disrespect. He wasn't in my aisle. He was like 2 or 3 aisles down. And he had some other dudes to go off on him because the other dudes woke up too, and then, one thing led to another.
Damn.
But the fact that I woke up and saw that, I was like, man, I know I didn't just turned over. This shit ain't really happening. I just turned back over and went to sleep. But man, that was one of the craziest things I saw. And I saw a little brother, another little guy, man. I don't know what y'all call synthetic marijuana in Cali.
Yeah. Well, in Cali, I don't know what they call it, but back home in Kansas City, Missouri, they call it K-Town. K2.
All right,
K2.
What, K2? Yeah. All right, well, down here in New Orleans, we call it Mojo.
Okay.
In Louisiana, right?
Uh-huh.
So there was a little guy that smoked some Mojo. And, man, all I can tell you is this guy ran and had a literal boxing match with the microwave. Literally. Like he ran up to the microwave and just was fussing, cussing the microwave out, punching it, uppercutting it. He bust all his knuckles up, and then he ran under the bed and hid. And so when he came out of his stupor or whatever, we asked him what happened, and he said, man, all he remember is, he said he remember hearing, he said he don't even remember fighting the microwave. He just remembered hearing a guy wipe his tennis shoes with a towel. And he said for some reason he blacked out and he thought that dogs were chasing him. In the bed he ran under, he thought he was hiding under a school bus. I don't make this stuff up. I don't know what this dude was going through in his mind.
Damn.
But that was my first time ever seeing a human being have a fight with an inanimate object. And he was like really going in on the microwave, like the microwave that did himself.
Damn.
And he bust all his hands and all this stuff up.
Oh,
but he was on that mojo.
Yeah. Did you have to shoot any fades in there? I'm sure 21 years you had to, get down a few times.
What? Wait, what is it?
No, I said you had to shoot. Oh, okay, my bad. That's Cali slang. Did you have to chunk them? I'm saying, did you have any fights while you was in there?
Man, look, if I tell people this, they're gonna think I'm lying.
Mm-hmm.
I never had an argument in prison.
Wow. Damn.
21 years.
Damn. So you never had a discipline write up, nothing? No. Wow.
Never had that. I had one person that one encounter I had, and it wasn't, and I say this with all respect, one encounter I had with a guy who had some intentions. And I told him in a very calm manner. And I think because I showed the brother respect when I told him that he was, whatever he was trying to do, that he was gonna have to kill me. I said, you're gonna have to kill me. So I'm just letting you know up front that whatever your intentions are, you will have to take my life. And if you're not ready to do that, then you might want to leave that alone. So me and the brother shook hands and we never had no more problems. And I think that when I, because of the way I did it, I pulled him away from everybody.
Yeah.
I didn't say it in front of a crowd.
Yep.
Because I didn't want to be, I didn't want to make a scene. I didn't really want nobody to know what was going on. And the truth of the matter is I had the ups because I had a lot of guys that I had, was cool with in the spot where I was at over the years. And if I would have said the word, he would have really been touched up. But I didn't do that. I pulled him to the side and I was like, man, I don't know if you want to do that, because if you want to do that, then you will have to take my life. And if you ain't ready to go there, then you might well leave that alone.
Wow.
So we shook hands and it was cool.
That's deep. That's conflict resolution for your ass. What do you think contributed to you not having issues? I know, but I'm saying for the viewers that probably trying to figure it out. Why do you think, what do you think contributed to you not having those issues?
Well, what I learned in prison quick was, when I first went to jail and eventually prison, I was spooked like anybody else. This was a new experience to me. I was scared to death. And that fear is what made me want to hurt people, because I'm like, yo, I got to set an example. Ain't nobody going to play with me. I'm talking about in my head, I was like, the first fight I have up in here, I'm not going to whoop him. I'm going to bite him and eat all his arm off. So when the people come here, they're going to know, man, this dude is out of his mind. Don't mess with this dude. You know what I mean? So like in my mind, I was like, I got to do something that's going to be shock value. I'm about to beat him up, cut his arm off and go to chewing on it. So when they come in here, they're going to know, man, this dude is crazy.
Yeah.
So, but fear does that. Fear had me in that state of mind when I first got in there. I'm like, man, anybody do anything, I'm downing them. That was the thought process. But after sitting back and watching these old school cats, and then the old school cats come and talk to me, and it was like, youngin', it's all about respect. You treat folks the way you want to be treated. So just like the situation that I mentioned to you with the guy, that's how I would have wanted someone to come to me. He was out of line, and I pulled him to the side and whispered to him, like, man, look, if you show, you won't do that. You know what I mean? Because I think that that's how men should address each other.
Real talk.
You know, not little boys, how men should address each other.
Real shit.
And I think that because I treated people that way, and I think that energy was given back to me in return. And also, I think that when you in prison, on the streets, you can put a face out there to the public and then go home to your house and be somebody different. But what's real in prison is you're going to eventually show who you truly are, because we're around each other 24/7. And see, the way the prison system set up in Louisiana, we ain't in those cells. We're in an open flat, an open dome with beds in it.
Damn.
So you not going, unless you really, really want to go there with somebody, you need to leave it alone.
Right.
Because you got to go to sleep.
Right.
And ain't no bars separating you from this cat.
Right.
You tell this cat, I'm going to do you blah, 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 and then you go to sleep.
Damn.
And then that's how you get your issue.
Damn. So
you basically, we had like a understood respect amongst each other. And, you know, people see your heart. They see who you are. And once they see who you are, then that's how they treat you. And I think people saw who I was. They saw that I had good intent, you know, and they saw that I wasn't afraid. See, once I overcame those fears, and when you're not afraid, then I think that freedom is inevitable. And when I say freedom, I ain't even speaking about getting out of jail. I'm speaking about just your peace. Once you got that inner peace in a place like that, people see that. And those who about that bullshit, they're not going to even come around you, because the bullshit in them is not going to even allow them to come in your presence when you got that inner peace. But that inner peace could only be accomplished after you overcome those fears.
Absolutely. That's a word. Yeah. That applies out here in the world too. You know, if people figure it out. Yeah. So man, so you down to your 21st year. You just came home earlier this year, correct? When you saw that you had a date. Now, let me clarify. Did you get paroled or did you get clemency?
Well, both.
Okay.
All right. Well, I didn't get pardoned.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The path in Louisiana for those who don't have parole eligibility or who trying to get early release is filing for clemency, a clemency application. Now, this clemency application is basically, clemency is you basically petitioning to the parole and pardon board seeking some type of relief. Because now, you know, you're at that point where the courts ain't giving you relief in the courts. So now you're going to the parole and pardon board. So what I did was, on my clemency application, I asked for early parole eligibility, right? Because I would have gone home in 2024 anyway. I had 3 more years. I was gonna be paroled anyway, and because I was sentenced to 85% of 30 years, and I maxed out the most that I can get in good time. Good time is basically you knocking time off your sentence. So I was able to knock up to a year off of my sentence, and I did. So I was going to get parole after 24 years and 6 months, but I filed for clemency and got parole after 21 years.
Okay. So man, you knew you was coming home. So were you afraid? Were you ready, or were you a little nervous? Because you know you come into a whole other world.
I definitely was nervous. I was ready, but I was real nervous, man. Because the world was a different place when I left it. Yeah. And you know, I'm still getting adjusted. Yeah. I love it now. Don't get me wrong, I love the freedom, man. It's so good to not be on that head count.
Hell yeah.
Have somebody come in, you know, through the dome count you and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And but was weird, I came out to a totally different world. It's like everybody's sensitive. You can't really say how you feel.
Right.
It's you know, not that I would want to offend anyone anyway, but it's still just it's still just kind of, you know, it's kind of messed up that, you know, people are in a position now where they can't really say what they feel.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to that, because in the pen it's totally different. Right. You better say what you feel. You know, don't do no pretending.
Hell
spot.
yeah.
You gotta say what you feel.
Hell yeah.
21, you can't say midget anymore. Your whole first album would have been canceled.
Right. You can't say anything. Yeah, exactly. My first album would have been canceled, and you know, and like I said, I don't want to, I don't like to offend anyone, but I don't want them to offend me by not allowing me to speak my mind.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. I think, yeah. So you get out earlier this year. So now, you come home. What were your plans like when you were locked up? Would you want to jump right back into music, or did you have aspirations to do something else? Like, cause you're older now, you know what I mean? And you kind of left right when you were, you was
right,
blossoming,
about
to pop. You know what I mean? So, I mean, where do you stand as an artist now?
Well, I mean, now I do music. Music is therapy for me. That's why I taught myself how to play all kind of instruments when I was locked up.
I saw that. Yeah.
And I just, it's therapy for me, and I do it because I love it. If I can make some money or generate some money doing it, that is great, because I would love to. Ideal situation for me is I would make money the rest of my life just recording and performing music. That's what I love to do. But like yourself, I'm also an artist. I draw, we paint. I come from a family of artists. Like, my mother is a professional artist. My dad, he is an artist as well. He just don't do it, he don't do it for retail like my mother does. All of my brothers and sisters are artists. One of my brothers was, all of us draw or paint. All of us do that. Then all of us are musicians. One of my brothers was actually the trombone player for Solange, for Beyonce's sister. My other brother is a saxophone player. My sister is the lead singer of a reggae band. So it's like all of us are some kind of way connected to art and music. So I was going to be doing that anyway when I got out, because the family, we've been making these plans for quite some time.
Yeah. So now let's talk about the No Limit reunion. You know what I mean? Tour. So you get out, which is the tour that we're both on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how excited were you to reunite with your brothers and sisters, with Mercedes, with Mia X, with Servon, with Fiend, with P, with Silk, Mystical? How exciting was that?
Man, what's crazy is, I was more excited really I was more excited just for us to all be together and just laughing and reminiscing about old times or whatever, because all us was on a bus together, and we just was, talking about stuff that happened. Serv is a clown. Serv had us just laughing about stuff that we remembered at the time. So I was really more excited about that than the actual the performances. I love the performances once I got on stage, but just anticipating it, I was more excited just to be around everybody again than to actually doing the performances. The performances were actually making me nervous because I hadn't been in front of that many people in a long time. So, one of the, I don't know if it was the promoter or one of the guys come to me and was just like, Max seemed kind of,
I was watching you. You had to find your footing. You had to find your footing.
Yeah. I'm like, man, they have to understand, man. I haven't been in front of thousands of people in a long time. So it was like, and then I'm 21 years older than the last time we was doing this. So I'm looking at Fiend's energy, and I'm just like, this dude still got the same amount of energy. Yeah. I'm like, man, I need some of whatever he drinking or smoking. I need some of that, because I'm looking at, it's so overwhelming. Just like being in there was so overwhelming to me that I was just like, damn. Yeah. If you notice, I spent a lot of time just like looking at the whole crowd.
I see. I watch you. You was just taking it all in. Yeah, you was taking it all in. But these last couple shows, you've been on point though. I see you getting your pep in your step. You finding your rhythm.
Shit. I mean, it took about 5 shows.
It's about 5. About
okay,
5
dude,
or 6.
You really like I had to come to the realization that, dude, you really on this stage yet. You really got to perform in front of these people. Yeah. And me, it was just like, man, wow. You know what I'm saying? Look at all these damn people.
Yeah. Hey, but we back up and at it in 2022, brother. You know what I'm saying? We moving. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of shit on the board. So I look forward to being back out there with you, man, watching you do your thing,
Man, if I can get up, I mean, look, and then after, what's so crazy is after the performances, we used to go here, go there.
Yeah.
They come to me and they like, man, look, we're about to go to Airport. I'm like, Airport? Man, I'm about to go to sleep. Man, I'm 44 years old. In my mind, I'm like, Airport? I'm gonna holler at y'all after tomorrow. I'm about to go to sleep, man.
Exactly.
So it was exhausting.
Yeah.
Like I noticed that it's so weird, not even doing much on stage, it still was exhausting. Like once I got to my room, it was like sensory overload. It was like, I need to go to sleep.
A lot of people that don't do it, and I think when you get to our age too, that's what it is. Like I tell people, this is work because we have to be on. We're on from the time that we get in that arena, all of our different positions, we're on. You know what I'm saying? And like you say, it's like a sensory overload. And it's like you crash. Once you leave that moment, it's like you just crash. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's like I don't want to do nothing but go to sleep. That's why I be having my wife with me. Like, people like me, I got my wife with me because she gonna remind me that, look, we need to go. You know what I mean?
Man.
So,
hey, shout out to wifey because I see her. She be holding you down. She be handling your business. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to wifey. She do her thing.
Yeah, big shout out to the wife. Yeah, because I ain't gonna lie, she helped me with a lot of this. She helped me with a lot of the transitioning to just this, man.
Yeah, for sure.
This was a lot of this was just overwhelming, man. I remember the day she and my manager came pick me up from the work release when they came and got me. And we all in the car. And I remember just riding away from the work release and I'm just looking around and I'm just like, man, I'm really out of prison. Like, that's when it really, it hit me like, man, I'm really out of prison. And I hadn't really, really absorbed it until my uncle's funeral about a month ago. I was on this, my family got me to say a poem that my auntie wrote at the funeral because they were like, my auntie had been in such a, her mind, that was her little brother. So she was in one of those states of mind where she couldn't really, muster up the strength to get up there and do it. So my grandmother was like, well, McKinley, we want you to be, the spokesperson for the family. We want you to get up there and say the poem. And say a little bit about my uncle. Man, them 21 years I did in prison all hit me at that moment.
Wow.
I broke down crying.
Wow.
That was my first time crying since 2001 after them people sentenced me in that courthouse. And I think I needed that. It was like all 21 of them years came down because for the last 21 years, I had basically numbed myself to emotion because in order for me to get myself out of the situation, I had to take myself out of the situation and work on my situation as if I was an attorney and I was my own client. So I had to just totally emotionally remove myself from everything. And in doing so, I damn near just got desensitized in other aspects of my life. But when I got to that funeral, it's like all them 21 years just all came down.
Yeah.
Boom.
And
they had to almost get me off that microphone. I cried like a baby up there. I couldn't even say the poem.
Yeah, but you know what? It's just think about it. When you circle back to what we said at the beginning of this podcast, what do we say? We got to be who we got to be. Once you removed and you're able to sit still for a second, all that shit comes rushing out. All of them
came tumbling down.
Yeah. So brother, what you got new now? Like what's Mac doing now? You working on a new album? You got a product? What you doing?
Yeah.
Now?
So matter of fact, and it's crazy. I'm glad you say that because I done did a lot of interviews, man. I don't never plug my song.
Come on, man.
So I'm still learning how to do that because I've always been kind of organic when it comes to music. But so I'm gonna try to do this in a professional gimmicky type way. 21 Summers is out right now on all musical platforms. It's the story of how I felt when I first was released from prison. And the weird thing is I recorded the song a couple weeks before my release because I was imagining what I would feel like once I was released. I actually wrote the song while I was fire watching for one of the welders at the shipyard I was working at. Okay. I was at the bottom of the ship when the song came to me. So that's what 21 Summers is. It's out on all platforms. The new album will be out early 2022.
Okay.
It will be out early 2022. And that's pretty much all I can say about that. We out
Okay.
early
Can we expect any reunions, Manny Fresh or BG or anything that's just been tucked away?
Now, see, now you know I was trained to deflect those kind of questions. Well, I'm gonna just say nothing is off the table.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a dope project, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be dope, and it's gonna be. People can expect a more mature, more seasoned version of me.
Are you back working with XL and KL?
See, that's the same way I got to answer that question.
Okay.
Is the way I just answered the other one. So I'm gonna
Well, shit,
just say
you know I can call KL and call XL.
Look, I'm gonna have everybody sign up, whatever you call that stuff.
Yeah, non-disclosure.
Non-disclosure. Non-disclosure. They're gonna have to take an oath to the billy goat not to ever say anything. But nah, I'm gonna have a couple of producers working on it.
Okay.
I definitely look forward to working with many of those guys again. And I think people are really gonna enjoy this project. In fact, it should be better than what I said should for, man. That's me being modest. It's gonna be doper than everything I ever recorded before. I'm gonna just tell you that. So people can look forward to that.
And you know what I want to put on you and Wifey's top, if y'all haven't thought about it too. I think, Mac, it'll be good for you to get into some speaking engagements. You know what I'm saying? And start going around talking to kids and just giving your testimony. I think you should do a book as well. You know what I mean? And that can probably translate into a series, a movie, and all of that. Because you got a hell of a life story and testimony. So, I just want to throw that out there for you, too. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, it's a good idea. In fact, I've been doing speaking engagements.
Okay, cool.
I actually did one at one of the more, I guess you would say, one of the bigger ones I did was I spoke at this HBCU in Louisiana called Dillard.
Yeah.
I spoke there a couple months ago. And man, it was interesting because the kids were those young adults were very engaged, man. They had some very good questions for me after, because what we did was I spoke to, I think, the freshman class. And after we spoke, we went into, we had a dinner where they let, like, I guess the honor students and all of the top of the class people, they were there. And the dean, which is Dr. Kimbrough, we were all there, and it was there where we had a sit down and we ate, and they asked me a lot of questions or whatnot, because these were people that were the law students that were actually asking me the question. And I learned something from I was the speaker, but I learned more from listening to them than actually speaking.
Nice. Well, they say, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You know what I'm saying?
That's the truth. That is the truth.
Well, okay, my brother. Well, listen, I ain't going to keep you, Mac. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to give you your flowers, my brother. You know what I mean? We happy that you
appreciate it.
We happy that you home. Again, we share the same fraternity. There's no limit thing. So, we always going to be a brother in that. I hope to continue building with you even outside of that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Man, I'm just glad you made it through, and I think you got a hell of a testimony, and I think the world should hear it. And we looking forward to your new music too, brother.
Yes, sir.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. And, I just want to say, man, that was humbling. And, man, shout out to you too, because I love this platform. I think it's good. And I've done different podcasts and I would say, brother, you did a good job asking some good questions.
I appreciate that. Thank you, brother.
And I think it's gonna get even bigger.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. And you know what? When probably maybe at the end of first quarter, when you get everything going with the album and you got your visuals and shit out, come on back. This is always a home for you. This is always home.
Gonna come back.
This is always home.
Even if I ain't welcome, I'm gonna come knock on the door.
Come on, man. You always welcome. Come on, man.
I know.
You always welcome.
What I meant to say is, even if I'm not asked, don't be surprised. I was down.
Already. You got the number. You hit me. Hey, I want to come on the podcast. I got some shit I want to talk about. And you
watch this here. I might not even want to hit you. I might just want to pop up and knock on the door. But nah,
all good.
Man. But it was good to see you, bro. Good to talk to you, brother.
Likewise,
brother
my
Ken.
brother.
Yes, sir.
Much love.
All right, much love, Mac. I'll be hollering at you soon.
Sure.
All right, thank you, brother.
For sure.
All right, salute.
For sure.